welcome to the Guitarist Tone Lounge. I'm Neville Marten.
And I'm Richard Barrett.
We're back in the lounge here with a couple of brand new Orange amps. This is the Rockerverb 50 Mark III. It's a 50 watt amp, switchable down to 25. Got two channels, a lovely new clean sound and a really classic rock to filthy second channel. What else has it got, Rich?
Yes, what's quite exciting about it, it also has an attenuator, which is like a master volume for the whole amp, which is foot switchable too.
Yep.
So you can set the amp up and leave it, really. You can balance the channels and use the attenuator as your master.
Yep, that's great. And it's got a very nice valve-driven line in, line out.
Yes, the send and return.
Send and return.
Yeah. So it's a valve signal path.
Valve signal path. It keeps. There's a valve signal path from the in right to out to the two vintage 30 Celestion speakers, and they've really engineered this to sound very pucker indeed. We've been playing around for about an hour with it now and got some really nice sounds out of it, both clean and dirty, haven't we?
Yes, yeah, and with the single coils and humbuckers, it's working really well.
It really
with all
works
of it.
well, yeah, because I've got Les Paul here, which has got his other single coil
Oh yes,
mags.
my chop tank, yeah.
It really works well with the two types of sound. I mean, we've got them on the low output setting, the 25 watt output setting, and we've got them attenuated down to about, what, halfway, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. The thing about the attenuator control that's interesting is that the higher you turn it on the dial, the more attenuation you're getting,
Yes,
so the quieter
yeah.
it gets, so it might take a couple of seconds
Yeah,
for
so
people
you
to
kind of
get
turn
used
it
to that.
to almost release it, don't you? Release
Yes.
the full thing. And the other great thing about, which you mentioned before, about the switchability of
Oh
that
yes,
control.
yeah, the idea of perhaps you could set the attenuator so that it's the right level for rhythm, and then let go for, well, on either channel as well, because sometimes you'll be on the clean channel and you might want it just to pop out a little bit for...
I mean, if you were kind of an Albert Lee style of player and you wanted two clean sounds, one for your rhythm stuff and one to just kick it up,
yes,
the clean channel would be perfect for that. Or you were in a classic rock band and you wanted to just up your game for
actually
solos and riffs.
I do use a little boost pedal with my own setup for a similar idea. You can set up a dirty sound that's a bit multi-purpose, maybe boost it further with a drive pedal, which just will facilitate. But I'll turn the guitar down just for I mean, really, the amp's set for that. But if I set it,
well, I'll do the same with the
a little
Strat.
bit quiet, and I might boost it by letting the attenuator go, so you've got that extra flexibility for fitting into the band mix.
Exactly. Well, here's the same thing on the Strat. Turn that back to 4. Still dirty, but turn it down to 3.
That's great, because that's set dirty as well,
It's
isn't
dirty,
it? And that's really controlling it.
It retains that thing, but it's still tight, isn't it? It's very tight.
It always seems to me that it's a good quality circuit when it behaves like that.
It is. We've always been impressed with Orange. The integrity of the design of Orange amps is always really up.
Yeah,
it's top notch. Always has been. It's been what they've been renowned for. A bit like Hiwatt in the old days. They were renowned for being a bit upper class in the way that they're built and everything. And these do weigh a ton, because we're upstairs here and we had to bring these amps upstairs, and it took 2 of us, each one of them. So, but that means they're really solid. Plywood cabs. As I say, the 2 vintage 30 speakers, which got hefty old magnets on. So these aren't things not to be messed with.
Yes, and I like the fact that they've got a semi-open back as well, so you get the spread of sound on a smaller stage, or even on a bigger stage. Actually, you get even with a big monitor rig or something, you still want to hear a bit of the proper amp sound, I always think.
You do, and in fact, you might think that we're sitting behind them, we can't hear anything. We can, because it's coming out of the back here, so we're getting quite...
Well, I can hear as well as I ever do.
Well, there you go, yeah. So let's quickly go through the controls. As usual, Orange use graphics to tell you what they are. They don't say treble, middle and bass, etc. So here is a clean channel, and it's a very simple thing. It's got its own volume control and a bass and a treble, so it's a two band EQ. Moving over to the lead channel, we've got gain, 3-band EQ of bass, middle and treble, and here's the channels volume control. Here's the master section. There is your master reverb. This is a lovely sounding reverb, and it goes from that lovely wispy, just a hint of ambience in the sound, to, as Orange themselves say, to full on surf. And it's a really lovely, again, a valve driven reverb, and it sounds really sweet. And there's the amp's master volume control. Over here you've got the logical thing, on off, half full power, 25 up to 50 in the standby, and there is a switch, a manual switch between the two channels. So it's very, very simple, very intuitive, and it's got everything on there that you could possibly want.
I must say that the reverb control particularly, what's nice about the lower reaches of the sweep of the controllers, you don't suddenly go straight into sounding like you're at the bottom of a well. You can dial it in very gradually, and then when you get to the top you can...
We have criticised that. I'll give a quick sound of the reverb. Let's take it down. You just hear a little something at the end there. I've got it in about a third, up to about half. That's just a nice, probably you'd use that kind of thing most of the time.
Yeah, you just leave it there, wouldn't you, a lot of the time, unless you're in a very echoey room, I guess.
Exactly, and you take it up to full. And it's still going. So that's a lovely sounding, it's a really nice sounding reverb. He always has to top me.
I didn't do it very well, but I had to have a go, you understand?
I think you've changed guitars, haven't you, from the last shot?
I have, yes. I just at the last moment, I thought if we're playing clean, I quite fancied using single coil and thought that'd be no bad thing to demonstrate how well that works.
You've stuck a delay pedal in?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's got perilously little battery left, but the Boss digital delay in the effects send and return, it works really well, the way that you would expect it to. I had a little play with it earlier with a nice 80s solo sound as well, as you remember, and that worked really, really well too.
It does sound, you know, if you put delay in front of a dirty sounding amp, it all goes to mush because it's delaying, it's repeating the dirt, which you don't want. In the effects loop, you don't get that. It doesn't repeat the dirt because the dirt's happened before it.
Yes,
if you could quickly do it, if you can.
Now let me see. Let's distort. So yes, it's distorting, then it's delaying, not delaying, then distorting.
Yeah.
That's a bit like having two people shouting at you at once.
That's
isn't
right. It's that kind of epic 80s rock.
Yeah,
sound.
yeah.
It's really nice.
Didn't Eddie Van Halen use some sort of really complicated setup with power amps so that he could have the Marshall distorting like crazy, then delays?
I believe so.
So you don't need to do that with this. You can just use effects loop.
Yeah. So I mean, everything you do on these amps just kind of sounds. I think I've said it before. It just sounds proper. It sounds exactly as you want it to sound. It sounds real and natural.
Yes, I know what you mean about that. I don't want to have to work really hard to get a sound. I'm sure we've both had things like that that make a lot of promises and maybe keep some of them, but you end up twiddling and thinking, well, maybe if I boost my mids at 400 instead of 500 or something like that, and it's the road to hell.
Exactly. When we initially plugged in before the camera started rolling, we both just plugged in, and both guitars sounded fantastic straight away. We didn't have to do anything. It was like, that sounds great. And he said, that sounds great as well.
Well, I always prefer the sound you're getting. It's like the other person's newspaper. But when you plug that Strat in straight to the dirty channel, I thought, yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah, it's got that lovely. I mean, it really works well with. We've both got single. If I've got a Les Paul here, I'll get my Les Paul out now. Actually,
yes.
I'll just turn that standby on. As you can see, I've switched to the Les Paul here, just really to show you that the clean channel has got tons of headroom, and it's really lovely and warm and bloomy with the Les Paul. I'll play the same chord sequence as before so you can hear what it sounds like. It's a very sweet sounding clean channel, isn't it?
That's a really good test of a clean channel. I think first of all with a humbucker and then a neck humbucker particularly, and that you can tell that that's going to go quite a long way up before it starts to break up. Yeah.
It works dirty as well.
It sure does.
Just out of interest, I'm going to show you something we discovered by accident earlier on. If you're a Gary Moore fan, you'll recognise this note, and this is the only note I'm going to play of this particular tune. Okay. Wow. And Richard's Nags does exactly the same thing.
I'm going to try it. It starts to buzz, you think it's going to go. Yeah.
But it just shows, I mean, this is just natural. We haven't even got the amp set particularly loud. The gains aren't particularly up.
No.
We're not thrashing the hell out of these things. They're just doing it themselves, which is what's so lovely and kind of warm and friendly about them. You think, wow, these got so much in them, but it doesn't take much to get it out, does it?
I think there's a lot to be said for the classic signal path. I mean, I don't know if I could honestly tell you the difference if it didn't have a valve effects loop or whatever, but I know that plugged into these, it's easy to get a sound. So perhaps that's what it is.
I'm going to change back to my Strat, and I'm going to play a few chords, and Richard's going to play beautiful slow blues for us.
Right.
Before we wind up, we'd just like to show you one of the things that we've noticed. In the blurb, Orange talks about how it goes from classic gain sounds, kind of fairly reasonable. In fact, the sound, when I played that blues shuffle on my Les Paul, I was kind of clean kind of dirty, and it goes from there all the way up. Now Richard's going to demonstrate the range of dirt, and one of the things that we've noticed is they retain absolute integrity in the sound. Even at absolute flat out dirt, it's really, really still tight and
yes, absolutely. I've just had a go to see if that was going to work before we confidently pronounced that it did, and it does.
But go through using the humbucker, because this is going to be quite powerful stuff.
I'll go for the bridge pickup, and I've got the gain control zeroed, so that appears to shut the amp off completely. So as I just edge it up, it's got a slightly bright sound, like there's a capacitor in there taking off some bottom. I mean, about 3.5 there, I'm starting to notice a bit of low end. I mean, I'm not playing super quiet, but at volume that would be more than enough for your AC/DC type thing, wouldn't it? So if I get up to halfway, so that's very manageable. That's halfway. I should point out that these aren't powerful pickups, they're bare knuckle mules, I think, so they're about 8.5K, something like that. They're not powerful. About 6. At stage
Brian
volumes,
May kind of territory there, isn't it?
Yes. You wouldn't really need any more than that in a lot of situations, but it's nice to know that you can. So this is around about 8. Let's go
flat out, come on.
all the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can hear the corresponding hiss, but what do you expect at this level of gain?
Every trick in the book.
Yes.
But you notice what you're saying, that the sound stays intact right up to its dirtiest. It doesn't go flabby. It doesn't do anything out to expected. It just sounds the same.
Well, it's fairly true to
yeah.
what you're putting in. I mean, I'm not one of the experts at that kind of style I was trying to do, but it does put out what you're putting in.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, we've said it before, but it's a musical sound. It's a sound that you can work with. In fact, every sound on them really is authentic. They've tried to make the clean sound pure and glassy and warm and natural. They've done it. And on the gain channel, as Richard just demonstrated, everywhere from that fairly mild distortion to full throttle gain is totally it's got integrity to it.
Yes, it's completely usable. It's very well thought out, and I like the idea that we were chatting a minute ago, weren't we, and saying that if you had to just take a guitar and an amp to a gig and no effects board, nothing like that, if you used the optional switching including the attenuator, then you would probably, unless you were playing in a U2 covers band or something like that,
exactly.
you'd be okay, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I sometimes play in a local band here near Bristol, and I have played with them with another amp, no effects whatsoever. In fact, and I loved it. I absolutely loved, almost like the challenge of, can I do it how we all used to do it? I mean, when I started, I didn't have a single effect pedal. Yes. I had my amp and my guitar, and that was that. Okay, let's quickly sum up the amps. And if they're 50 watt, switchable down to 25, 2-channel, clean and dirty, 2 Celestion Vintage 30 12-inch speakers, EL34 driven, the power stage. And what else? What are the nice bits and pieces about it?
The effects loop is valve driven, so at no point are you not a valve signal path. I particularly like the fact that it's 212. I've always liked that.
Yeah, and open back as well.
And the open back, so you've got a bit of thud and a bit of spread as well.
Yeah, these aren't cheap.
No.
UK pricing is just over £2,000, but it'll street just under £2,000. So, but they're built like brick outhouses. They really are. They're solid. They're handmade in the UK, and you know they do exactly what they say on the tin.
Yes, I mean, I'd say that if you're serious about a good gigging amp, then this isn't an outrageous price, and I'd try it up against some other things for less money.
Yeah.
And chances are, then you won't really question the price at that point.
I honestly haven't played a valve amp, and this is completely true. I honestly haven't played a valve amp that I didn't know for ages and been so utterly impressed by it. There's nothing about these amps that I don't like. Well, there is one thing: they weigh a ton. They are, you know, if I got one of these, I'd have to buy myself a trolley to carry it around on, which is no bad thing anyway.
Though I do notice these handles on the sides are really good. It's not just a leather strap on the top.
No, which would be ludicrous on an amp like this. And you know, you can always get somebody else. I mean, we lifted them up the stairs 2 at a time.
Well, how's the phrase go? A well-mimed sporting injury is always useful.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's nothing more we can say about them. We've glowed about them, but we've honestly glowed about them.
Yeah.
Orange should be very, very proud of themselves with these 2 Rockerverbs. The Mark III is a stupendous amp. We really mean it.
Yes.